For Texas A&M, this may just be the start of everything that they're going to be under Mike Elko. Yes, it's year one, but I want to speak a little bit more to how we got here right now, if you're a Texas A&M fan. So if you're a Texas A&M fan, make sure to subscribe. I'll say this too. I love Tex Aggies with every fiber of my being. Billy Lucci and company, they are doing the Lord's work over there. David Nuno, crushing it. So while you have Tex Aggies, also make sure you're subscribed here to supplement all your college football talk, all your Texas A&M talk. Want y'all dialed in. We appreciate y'all for that. A lot of y'all jumped on board here within the last few weeks, so we appreciate you for that. But if you haven't yet subscribed, we'd love to have you here. So here's where I want to start. When Mike Elko got hired, we felt very strongly that he had all of the right things to eventually now at Texas A&M be what they needed. Like Texas A&M was always sort of that friend that you pitied a little bit, because you saw all this potential. You saw all of the makings of greatness within them, but for whatever reason, they just couldn't ultimately reach that potential. They couldn't realize it. And I think it's important to note here, A&M hasn't realized their full potential just yet, but you're starting to see them put it all together. So going back to Mike Elko, he is exactly what the doctor ordered for Texas A&M, for what they needed to be successful. Because the question, and we say this a lot, it's nauseating for Texas A&M fans to hear every single offseason, and honestly to believe every single offseason, because you look at the roster, look at it on paper, you say, okay, have what we need there, have what we need there, 5-star there, 5-star there. Hey, talent-wise, if you keep telling us that it's all about input, tell us about resources, recruiting access, the roster. Like if you tell us it's about input, at some point in time, input should equate to output, and it hadn't equated to output. Why? Because of the things that don't show up on paper. The things that Mike Elko, again, brings to the table. And they're cliches, but they're true. They're non-negotiables. Culture. You saw culture when they bounced back from a loss against Notre Dame, and now they're undefeated in SEC play. They haven't lost a game since then. Toughness. Battling back, down 10 points at the crib against let's call a spade here. I think it's a really good LSU football team. At the very least, a really good LSU offense and a really good offensive line, and A&M got after them. The structure. There's no panic. Mike Elko talked about it a lot post-game after LSU. He's like, we were locked in. We were focused. What is that? That's structure. That's your way of doing things. Those are the things that he brings to the table. And I said it during SEC Media Days, actually, funny enough, when I was talking to David Nuno. I was like, I love the hire. However, it takes a minute for a team to embody what the head coach is. All those things I spoke to, culture, toughness, structure, all of those intangibles. It takes a second now for a team to ultimately embody all those things. Credit Mike Elko. Credit this locker room, because they've bought in a very short amount of time, and you're seeing the dividends. And so if you're a Texas A&M fan today, here's the validation for you. You were never crazy. You were never crazy. A lot of people used to tell you, when you talk about that whole input-output thing, and you sort of felt like, hey, we should start seeing some results here. They tell you you're entitled, you're arrogant, what makes you think you should win anything. You were never crazy. It was always about what you had in-house, and it was always about getting the right intangibles in-house, the right person in-house, to be able to make it all go together, to be able to maximize it. And so Mike Elko now, I think this is important too. As much as Mike Elko coming to A&M was an acclamation for A&M getting to do things Mike Elko's way, Mike Elko didn't have to acclimate to Texas A&M. And this was a big reason why we loved this hire a lot more than the Stoops hire that was supposedly all but a done deal at that point in time when you're about to hire an ex-head coach. There's nothing against Mark Stoops. When you go back and watch the press conference for Mike Elko being announced as the head coach of Texas A&M, they sing the war hymn, right? And they're rocking back and forth. And from the outside looking in, you have people saying, Dad, is this a cult? I guess there's some weird stuff going on out there in College Station. Like, what is going on? Mike Elko, if you watch that press conference, he knew every word. He had spent time in College Station. He had been the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M. He knew what Texas A&M was about. He knew what the demand was. He knew what the standard was. He knew everything about what that place offered and what it embodied. And he has very quickly now been able to pick up where he left off. And as the head coach now, even taking it further. Now, when it comes to the team this year now, we have to say this because I think it's important. I think a lot of people are thinking this, but I just want to go on record here on Monday morning at, call it 10:19 a.m. Central as we record this. Marcel Reed, have the conversation around it's his football team, it's not his football team or whatever. Like, that's another discussion. I think it's Marcel Reed's football team. I think what we saw Saturday should prove that. But just in a more simplistic, distilled down discussion, Marcel Reed gives you the best chance to win football games. Period. Mic drop. The end. Now, if you put him and Conor Wegman out there in a pro day setting, I don't know who would throw the football better. I'm not sure. But I know for what this team is right now and for who you have calling the offense, Marcel Reed allows you to be who you want to be. And that's not dunking on Conor Wegman. I appreciated that Mike Elko even said as much during the postgame press conference. He's like, it wasn't necessarily a thing for Conor Wegman. It was a thing for us as an offense. The whole it's not you, it's me situation. And that's a little bit unfortunate, but that's kind of where we're at right now. The offense is clearly operating at a different temperature with Marcel Reed in the football game. We say this a lot. My favorite part about this is your best player, Le'Veon Moss, is elevated with Marcel Reed in the football game. Why? Because linebackers have to hesitate a half beat whenever there's that mesh point. Because you're worried that, hey, if we crash too quickly on number 8, number 10 could go around the corner and give us some problems. You're not worried about that with Conor Wegman in the game. Going back to what I said too, Colin Klein, the new OC out there. Like, to call a spade here, he is a dual-threat quarterback. He comes from a dual-threat background. He knows how to work with dual-threat quarterbacks. He is at his best, I believe, when he's calling the offense for a quarterback with a parallel skill set to his own. Now, Colin Klein and Marcel Reed play the game different ways, but hear what I'm saying here. That matters. That's impactful. And honestly, that I think equips Colin Klein even to be a better coach to speak to Marcel Reed in that context. So going back to this thing, what's the most exciting part about this whole operation here? It's year one. It's your first year under Mike Elko. And let's just be real. It's not supposed to happen like this. I remember sitting down with my brother-in-law, Colton, if you're watching, shouts to you. We were sitting down during our family vacation in the summertime, going through A&M's schedule. Colton's an A&M alum. And we're looking at the record, and we're like, I could probably squint. I could squint real hard and see 9-3. Probably 8-4. And that'd be great. That'd be cool. First year under Elko, awesome. That's Jimbo Fisher's best year non-COVID when he was at A&M. Awesome. You're sitting here right now. You are undefeated in the SEC. You haven't lost since the first week of the season, and you've played multiple quarterbacks, and you have a first-year head coach. It's not supposed to happen this way. And Mike Elko is already swinging a big bat on the recruiting trail. You go follow Hayes Fawcett on Twitter, follow the On 3 Recruits channel on Twitter, and you're seeing just recruit after recruit start to give a pledge to A&M. This thing is trending the right direction. This thing right now has rocket fuel all over it. The on-field product is just, quite frankly, lighting the match to that and going to allow it to take off and burst off into the stratosphere. So, yes, this year is awesome. Yes, you got South Carolina this week. You got Auburn. You got Texas. Those are all massive games, and I think A&M should feel real good about their chances to make the SEC title game and make the college football playoff. But, what is this in 3 years? When you get more of those guys in-house, when you get more of a talent base, when you get that culture even further installed. I can't wait to see it. And if you're an A&M fan, vibes are immaculate, as they should be. Make sure you're subscribed. Hey, follow me on the Instagram and on the Twitter at JD PicKell. I want to hear from y'all there. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.